Good morning, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are in the globe. My name is Simon Pearson, as John mentioned. I'm head of Humanities at DLD College. I'm also head of English as well. So Humanities is one of the faculties which I'll be talking to you about later on in the talk. I taught at DLD College for many, many years, and I've seen many, many changes of location, changes of student body, and we're now very much an international boarding college based in central London, in many ways a unique institution. So today we're going to talk about studying and living in the UK. Now, of course, studying and living are very much the same things. You'll be studying and living in central London. Let's just look at a traditional English school, because I'm going to compare an English traditional school with DLD College. This is one of the most famous English public schools. Now, when we say a public school, what we mean in Britain is it's a very exclusive private school. So public school doesn't mean state school. It means a very exclusive boarding school, ancient boarding school. This is one of the most famous boarding schools in the world, probably the most famous school in the world. This was founded in 1440. Do any of you know what the name of this college is called? Well, I'll tell you. It's called Eton College. And it was founded in 1440 by Henry VI. And it was founded, it was giving a free education to 70 poor boys. Now, Eton is not free. Now, it's extremely expensive, private school or public school. But originally, it was providing a free education to 70 poor boys who then went on to King's College, Cambridge. So it was a kind of feeder from school to university. Many of the people that founded these ancient public schools had links with Oxford and Cambridge. Okay, and this is and on the right hand side we have here a sort of traditional image of an English schoolboy in his school uniform. Now I'm giving you this image because I'm going to compare it to DLD. On the next slide here we have DLD College, which is this state-of-the-art building right in the centre of London, and it's a boarding college. It's a unique institution, really, an international boarding college right in the centre of London. And there it is there, DLD College. And DLD College was founded in 1931. So it's one of the oldest independent colleges in London. We call them independent colleges rather than private colleges. So an independent college merely means a private college. And there is DLD, founded in 1931 by three gentlemen called Davies, Lang and Dick. So it stands for Davies, Lang and Dick. When I first joined DLD, it was called Davies, Lang and Dick. And then we changed the name, or the name was abbreviated to DLD College. So that's how it's now known. But originally, DLD stood for Davies, Lang and Dick. Okay, now Davies, Lang and Dick, or DLD College, occupies a very unique location. And I'm just going to show you now my next slide. Here we are. This is what you will see across the river if you are a boarder and you have a room with a view. I say a room with a view, a room facing north across the river. DLD is on what we call the South Bank in London. And here we have probably one of the most famous buildings in the world, an iconic building, popularly called Big Ben. Its real title is the Elizabeth Tower. So Big Ben is its nickname. And Big Ben is actually the name of a bell. So it's called Big Ben, but the actual official title is the Elizabeth Tower. And the Elizabeth Tower is part of the Houses of Parliament, the home of parliamentary democracy. This building, the Houses of Parliament, was copied all around the world as a sort of template, really, for what a parliamentary building should look like. So here we have Big Ben, the Houses of Parliament, and it's very interesting. Before the COVID crisis, there were many young couples brides and grooms having their photograph taken with Big Ben as the backdrop. I used to come over Westminster Bridge in the morning, and there would be a lady dressed in her white wedding dress and her groom, and they'll be having official wedding photos taken. So Big Ben is a backdrop. And when you come to DLD, I'm very certain that you will take a picture of yourself maybe with Big Ben as a backdrop. So it's part of what originally was called the Palace of Westminster, the Houses of Parliament. Before the Houses of Parliament became the Houses of Parliament, it was called the Palace of Westminster. So it was a royal residence, and that happened right the way back in the medieval period. So, but we now call it the Houses of Parliament. Okay, so that is, as I say, as you go out of DLD and you cross over Westminster Bridge, you'll be walking towards the Houses of Parliament. Let's move on. Now, this is one of the very special events that we hold at DLD, which is the graduation ceremony, which is held in the Houses of Parliament. So when the year 13 students have finished their time at DLD, they graduate and they walk out of DLD College and they walk across Westminster Bridge and they walk towards the Houses of Parliament. And there's an official ceremony in one of the rooms. It's called a conference room, and the students, they graduate. Can you see their hats they're wearing? Those square hats, they're called mortarboards. Mortar is the cement that builders use. So it's like a kind of wooden board that you put cement on, and builders use it when they are, or bricklayers use it when they are building a wall. They use it, and we call them mortar boards, but it's what's associated with graduation. And of course, they're wearing gowns as well. And it's a very, very special, unique occasion, really. DLD College is the first college in the world to have their graduation ceremony at the Palace of Westminster, or the Houses of Parliament. So it was a very special event. And the very first session that this took place was in 2018. So we had 2018, 2019 last year. But unfortunately, of course, because of the crisis, the COVID crisis, the 2020 will be a virtual graduation day. So the students, I'm afraid, will not have the actual physical experience of walking across the bridge in their gowns and being photographed in this building. So it'll be a virtual occasion. But here are some DLD students preparing to leave the college and walk across the bridge. Let's move on to the next one. Now here, boarding students. This is now look at all the flags in the background. Can you see all those flags? You should be able to identify some of those. DLD has 57 different nationalities. And here are some of the boarding students. You see, this is the main atrium. It's called the atrium, a very large space. And after 5 o'clock, when the day students leave, sofas are put down, cushions. Can you see the cushions? The table football is brought out, various amenities are brought out, and it becomes the boarding students' home. This is where they will live and relax after a day of study. And here we have, now look here, we have the boarding dog. This is the head of boarding has a dog. He's called Sasha. There's Sasha. In the middle of the photograph, and really what this this photograph, I think, conveys really is, well, the sense of community, this international community coming together from all parts of the world, coming together and having this unique experience, and the homeliness as well. The fact that there is a dog, there is another dog who is a therapy dog who is used to provide a kind of therapy if students feel the need to kind of touch this dog. There is a dog also on site. But what this, I think, conveys really is an important thing about British culture. I'm going to talk a little bit about the culture of the UK. And this is the importance of animals. Now look, this is cat food in a supermarket. My goodness me, how much cat food there is. And cats and dogs and pets generally are a very important part of the UK culture. 50%, here's some statistics, 50% of UK adults own a pet. 50% own a pet. 24% of UK adults have a cat, which means there are 10.9 million cats in the UK. 26% of UK adults have a dog, which means there are 4.9 million dogs in the UK. So it just shows you, doesn't it, that cats and dogs, a cat or a dog is very much part of a British family. And it just shows you really how central that is to kind of culture in the UK. And look at all the cat food there. I have 3 cats, by the way. I've just adopted a cat who I think has been made homeless because I think his owners have left the country, and he's now part of my family. But he doesn't get on with the other cats, so there's a bit of an issue there. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So let's move on to the next slide here. I put here key members of staff. I just want to talk to you a little bit about the academic structure of the college. First of all, we have house parents. If you're a boarder, if you're boarding at DLD, you will have a house parent. You will be part of what's called a huddle, which is like a little group, and your house parent will provide, I mean, the key word there is parent in a way. Obviously, someone can never really replace your parents, but their job there is to look after you, to make sure that you are happy, that you're making friends, and you're taking part in all the various activities the college puts on for you. So they are house parents. They form a very, very important part, and you will get to know your house parent very, very closely in the course of the time you're at DLD. And then we have subject teachers. Now, these are the people, men and women, who will deliver the course, and subject teachers. And they are experts in their particular field. They might be teaching you geography, history, physics, chemistry, ICT, French, Russian, mathematics, all the different subjects we teach, and they're all experts in their field. And their job is to deliver a really first-class education. So you are able to really fulfill your academic potential and do as well as you do your personal best. That's what we very much value, students that do their personal best. And the teachers there, the tutors there, teachers or tutors will very much help you to do that. And then we have the next thing, personal tutors. You will be assigned to a personal tutor group. You meet your tutor every day, because every day you have to register with your tutor, personal tutor. And then there's one formal meeting a week for about 40 minutes where various things are presented. It might be a presentation on some particular aspect of health and safety, or it might be something to do with study skills. There's one sort of formal meeting a week where you meet as a group together. But every day you will see your personal tutor to register. And it's an opportunity for you to, you know, if there's anything that you have a particular problem with, academic or pastoral, you can discuss that with your personal tutor. So your personal tutor is very, very important. And your personal tutor will, if you join DLD in year 12, will see you through to year 12 through to year 13. So you'll have the same personal tutor for 2 years. That's the personal tutor. And then finally, the next one here, we heads of faculty. Now I'm a head of faculty. There's the Faculty of Mathematics, the Faculty of Science, the Faculty of Languages, the Faculty of Business, and the Faculty of Creative Arts, and the Humanities faculty. So those are the various faculties. They have a faculty head. And the faculty head will be overseeing your academic progress. So if you do humanities subjects, I will be kind of overseeing your academic progress. The subject tutors will be reporting to me about how you're doing. So I will be seeing. So you might see me if you're finding difficulties or you feel that you need to change your course. You might then have a conversation with me about that. So that's the heads of faculty. As I say, there are the other faculties as well. I'm the head of humanities. Humanities includes subjects like geography, sociology, government and politics, English literature and language. I'm also head of English as well. So if you do English literature or English language and literature, history of art, I think I've covered classical civilization. These all come under the humanities. And as I say, I'm the head of humanities as well. So you're also part of a faculty because your membership of the faculty is determined obviously very much by the subjects that you choose to do in year 12. Let's move on. Directors of study. Here are directors of study, directors of studies. We call them DOS, DOS for short, DOS. And the director of study is someone who is very much your advocate. Is very much on your side, and again, overseeing, helping you with your university application. If you need to change courses, if you need to speak, if the school needs to speak to an agent or a representative, educational representative, then they will speak to them. They often are the people who contact parents as well. So the directors of study, so they are very important as well. So that's really the structure there of the various, these are the key members of staff as they will affect you directly. Let's move on. Right, culture shock. Now there's a very alarming picture there, culture shock. Well, the word shock, I think I use the word shock there is used, isn't it? Because for some people living in a foreign country, a country they've never been to before, can be a real shock. And if you look at the background there, we've got all the sort of things we associate with London. We've got Big Ben, the telephone box, the post box, the old post box, the Tower Bridge, and of course the red buses. And what is meant by culture shock? Well, we're going to think about that for a moment. What is this? Is a phrase that's often thrown around, culture shock. Now the word there is culture. Culture is something that is very specific to a particular time and place, a particular country at a particular moment in time. And when you come to the UK to study, you are coming into a society that may be very, very different from your own society. And you have to kind of learn to really adapt to this. And you might experience initially a shock. So let's have a look at sort of things that might causes shock. What causes culture shock? Well, let's look first of all, climate. Now, London has, I'm saying London, not the UK. London has a reputation for always raining. If you always look at the James Bond films, if you watch James Bond, whenever they have any scene in London, it's invariably raining and it looks cold and grey. But the English weather, well, there are a number of myths, I think, about the English weather. Let's have a look at some of the myths. Do you know, for example, that it rains more in Miami and New York City and Rome than it does in London? Yeah, so do you know that? That's something that I didn't know. 29% of days per year there is rainfall, 29%. So on average, it doesn't rain for 71% of days per year. So 71% of the days it doesn't rain, but you always see London and it's raining and people are holding up umbrellas. and everything looks very cold and grey. So the climate, that's a bit of a myth. I'm not saying it's like that in the whole of the UK. In other parts of the UK, it does rain a lot more, yeah. But in London, and the climate is what's called a temperate climate. It's not too hot, and it's not extreme. It's temperate. So one of the things about London is that living in the UK is that you often feel there isn't much difference between the seasons. That the summer could be like the spring, and the spring could be a bit like the winter, and the winter could be a bit like the autumn. So it's unpredictable, the weather, but it doesn't rain as much as people think. Yeah. Let's look at the next one here, because this is something that might cause culture shock, is food. Let's look at food. Now, again, London or England has the stereotype is that the food is not good. English food is not seen as a great cuisine. Well, London, I have to say, is one of the great food capitals of the world. There are nearly 40,000 food establishments in London alone, 40,000 in London. Now, by food establishments, I mean restaurants and cafes. So there's a huge amount of choice. You can eat you can get any kind of food that you require. There will be a restaurant serving the type of food you might get at home. Yeah. So food, it's very, London, of course, is one of the great international centers of the world as well. So many people have come from all around the world and brought their food with them and established restaurants or cafes. So it's very, very diverse, and there's a huge selection. And some of the very, very most expensive, best restaurants in the world are found in London. But you can find all sorts of different varieties of food at different prices as well. So there's a huge range. So food is something that I think and of course the other thing is the food at DLD is absolutely excellent. It is really fine, and all sorts of different dietary needs are catered for. So the food is, I don't think you'll have a problem there. Let's move on. Let's look at language. Now, obviously, English, British English is the official language, and it's the language that you will hear. It's the language that you'll be taught in. You'll be taught in standard English, in the classroom. You will learn standard English if you do IELTS, for example, the language qualification that you need to pass in order to go to university. So you learn standard English. But when you go out into the streets of London, you will hear non-standard English. You will hear English which isn't classroom English. You'll hear all sorts of different varieties of English. You'll hear lots and lots of different languages spoken in London. It won't be just English, there'll be all sorts of other languages spoken. So you'll hear all sorts of different languages. But as I say, non-standard English, you will hear non-standard English, you will hear very much the spoken form of the language. And the best way, obviously, to learn a language is to go out into the culture and to mix with Londoners, to talk with Londoners, whether it's a taxi driver, whether it's someone in a cafe that you go frequently to, but to engage with people, Londoners, and appreciate all the different types. We talk about different varieties of English. We don't talk about correct English or incorrect English. We talk about standard English or non-standard. So there are many, many different varieties of English, and you will hear those. You'll be taught, as I say, standard English, but you'll hear other types. So that's one thing there to think about, the language itself. And you might find, for example, the London accent initially maybe slightly difficult. There are certain pronunciation features, certain words that are very informal, that you may not have come across, but that's all part of the experience of living in London and immersing yourself in the culture. Okay, let's look at the next one here. I put down dress, clothes. Now, there is no uniform at DLD. There is a dress code. There are things that are considered to be an acceptable way to dress and not acceptable. So there is a kind of dress code. So, you know, it's important to appreciate the fact you are in an educational context. But London is famous for its street fashion. You will see all sorts of different styles. It's called street fashion, and really that is what makes other countries are famous for more perhaps classical way of dressing, but London is famous for its street fashion, and street fashion is very much linked to things like music, popular culture, and it's a very, very stimulating experience just walking around London and seeing all the different ways people dress, not just dress, but things like different hair color, accessories that they wear, and the different kinds of identities. People express very much their identity through clothes. And London is famous for its kind of street fashion, which has been sent all around the world. It's been very, very influential. So that's something that I particularly enjoy about living in London, is the sort of diversity, the different ways people dress in different areas and what it says about them. Let's have a look at another slide here. Rules of behaviour, and I put rules in quote marks, rules of behaviour. This is really about generally how to conduct it. It's very, for example, a very important rule in the UK is to say please and thank you. It's very, very important when you in your interactions with people, is to say thank you, please and thank you. It sounds an obvious thing to do, but it's considered very, very important to do that, and to be very aware really of people's feelings as well, because English people, in some ways, there are certain rules to observe. I mean, I think an important rule maybe, is when you go into a cafe and you're ordering, so you go to Starbucks and you're ordering a coffee, not to be on your mobile phone while you're ordering a coffee, but to actually order a coffee without being on the phone, and to give the person you're talking to, addressing, your attention. I think that's a kind of rule, really. How you ask for things, you know, we use lots of, they're called modals. I imagine you might have come across these when you study English, modals. There are a lot of modal verbs in English, like can, could, may. May I have a cup of coffee? Could I have? Can I have? These are ways of asking politely. And this is what is considered to be kind of good behavior. And it will make your interactions with people much easier, I think. So these are certain ways of interacting with people. Different cultures have different attitudes to rules, particularly when it comes to language as well. So the rules of behavior. I think English people, Londoners, like interaction. The stereotype of English people is that they can be quite, or British people, they can be quite reserved, and they're not perhaps used to people coming up to them in the street and chatting with them. In other cultures, you know, when I go to America, people seem to be much more open. There's much more interaction. That English people in the public realm tend to keep themselves to themselves. That's not to say they're cold and unfriendly, but it's just a kind of rule. It's the way you're kind of conditioned. So you can travel on the underground a lot. You will, if you live in London for any length of time, you'll go on the underground, and you'll see that there isn't that huge amount of interaction on the underground, that people kind of in a public space don't play loud music, don't make a lot of noise, and that they respect the kind of rules there of distance as well. So those are things that you learn, and you learn very much as you live in the society. Values as well. Now, again, rules and values, I think, are very much kind of linked. let's look at some of the values. What do I mean by values? Well, individuality is valued, having an opinion, expressing your opinion, differences of opinion, that's very important, that a discussion and debate, that you, in studying your A levels or GCSEs or whatever level you come into DLD, you will be asked for your opinion, to express your opinion. So that's very important, the individual, the importance of the individual, and expressing your opinion and valuing other people's opinion. That's very important. So these are kind of values. You will be asked your opinion in class. This links up with teaching and learning styles, that we value your opinion. Teachers will ask your opinion and expect you to be able to put forward your opinion. In other cultures, maybe the relationship between teacher and student is more formal, and the teacher does a lot of the talking, and the students, the pupils, listen, and so they're more passive. Here we expect there to be much more active interaction, and so that links up, I think, with values that I think covers also sort of teaching and learning, and the importance of being an independent learner is important as well. Working on your own, conducting research is important. So creativity, imagination, these are values that I think are very important in the culture as a whole. Let's move on. Life after DLD. I've been doing a lot of talking, so I'm going to speed up a bit. Life after DLD. Well, you will come to DLD for maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, may even be 4 years. And eventually you will leave DLD. And I put a picture there of Westminster Bridge. You will cross over Westminster Bridge, and that is your journey henceforth, crossing the river and starting your life. Many of you will go off to university, whether it's in this country or in America or Canada or somewhere else, but it will be the start of a journey, and you will leave school and you will become a young adult. Well, you are young, you will be a young adult beforehand, but I think leaving school is very much a kind of an important moment in your life. And what is life like after DLD College? Well, many of you will go to university. Let's have a look at universities. These are some of the universities here. This is UCL. This stands for University College London. It's a very, very prestigious university. London has some of the best universities in the world. It's a great educational and cultural centre. And this is UCL. It's got the largest research intensive universities in the UK. So it's very, very good for research. It has a very, very high research profile. It's based right in the centre of London. Right in the centre, very near the British Museum, actually, and it's become a research and teaching powerhouse since its foundation in 1826. 1826. So that's at UCL, the University College of London. It's a world famous institution, one of the highest ranked universities in the world, and that is. And then we have Oxbridge. Now, Oxbridge itself, that term Oxbridge, is a blend of Oxford and Cambridge, and we call the two ancient universities Oxbridge. For many, 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 many centuries, the only two universities in the country were Oxford and Cambridge. There actually is not entirely true. There was there were universities in Scotland as well, but we call these the ancient universities. And of course, they have a great deal of prestige. On the left-hand side, we have King's College, Cambridge. There's the chapel. And on the right-hand side, we have a picture of the Radcliffe Camera, which is a library. I think it's the history library. I think the history faculty is there based now. So we've got two images there. And that is, of course, these are two great world-famous universities. So for some of you studying at DLD, the sky is the limit, really. If you have the academic ability, the academic aptitude, then you can aim for these very prestigious universities here. Let's just move on. And finally, I'd just like to talk to you about the Russell Group universities. It's called the Russell Group. 2/3 of the world leading research is produced in the UK. 2/3 of the world's leading research is produced in the UK. And the Russell Group is responsible for much of that. It's a group of 24 universities. I can't name them all, but there are 24, and these are considered to be the kind of top universities, and they have higher academic requirements, and they're part of what's called the Russell Group. But they produce 2/3 of the world's leading research is produced in the UK, and much of that comes from Russell Group universities. Now, universities in the UK are very globalized, very international. 39% of Russell Group universities, 39% of the academic staff are international or non-UK nationality. So 39% of the academic staff are non-UK nationality. 34% of the students are of non-UK nationality. So what we're seeing here is really London, the UK, as a great globalized educational centre. People from all around the world are coming to Britain to be educated, whether at secondary school and then or at university. So we're seeing here the globalization, and that's really something that has happened. It's really taken off in the last 10 years or so, and the internationalization of education. So when you go to university, you will be surrounded by many different nationalities, all studying in the UK and all benefiting greatly from their experience here. I think that's it now. I'll hand myself back to John.
Hi Simon, thank you for that insight into the UK and UK study culture. It was great. If anyone has any questions for Simon, please do post them now, and we'll be able to respond to them now. We did have one question that popped up from Tatiana, Simon, during the session, and she was asking really for a little bit more detail about humanities subjects. Really, she just wanted to know the breadth of subjects that is included under humanities. She also asked if economics fits under that humanities banner, and she also wanted to know within the subjects, what's the focus on essay writing skills? How important is that, and maybe how does that link in with the assessment of the subjects?
Economics is part of social sciences, so it's business and economics. So sorry, it used to be called social sciences, it's now called business and economics. So it's part of that group there. As for essay writing, now the humanities subjects are very essay based. So if you do history, you have to write history essays. If you do sociology, English, of course, is extremely essay based. Classics as well. So they are essay-based subjects, and essay writing is very important. We run this year we're running a group, a special class for English for academic purposes, and this is for year 12 students. So these are students who are coming in their first year of A-level, and we focus very much on essay writing because that's how you're assessed. That is the assessment. You will. Other subjects have short answer questions, multiple choice sometimes, but in the humanities subjects. Now, the humanities, let me just quickly tell you what the humanities subjects are. If I remember them all, there's geography, sociology, government and politics. So those three groups there. They sometimes can be part of social sciences. In universities, they might be part of a social science, but they are part of the humanities faculty. There's history. There's history. There's history of art. There's history of art. There's classical civilization. These subjects are very much to do with writing in a critical and evaluative fashion. It's putting across, it's not just information, but it's putting across ideas. It's putting together an argument. And these are very important. These are skill-based subjects. That writing an essay is a skill, so we do focus very much on that. So yes, if you choose to do a humanities subject, which I hope some of you do, then you will be writing essays, and we will be focusing very much on that. Okay.
Thank you, Simon. I think you've answered this question, but Noel did ask, is psychology included in humanities? My understanding is it's more of a science subject, but maybe...
yeah, it's part of science. So there's an argument about whether psychology is a humanities subject or is it part of social sciences at university. So in some universities it might be part of humanities, but at DLD it's not. It's part of the science faculty.
And just following on for that, I mean, what typical subject combinations do you find that students are looking to take with humanities? Do students tend to combine humanities subjects, or do they tend to combine with other areas?
We used to try and encourage a lot of students who were doing medicine, because as a fourth A level, we thought it was a very good example of demonstrating the fact that you aren't just a kind of one-trick pony. You know that you can actually. So, and English, for example, has a lot of prestige at A level as well. So you might take 4 A levels, and 3 of those might be the traditional sort of route to medicine, like biology, chemistry, maths or physics or whatever, and then maybe one of them could be English as well, to show that you're a well-rounded human being. So English is a subject which very much values the importance of communication and empathy. And if you're going to be a doctor, those are very important, extremely important. It makes you a more articulate person. So if you're considering doing medicine, it might be English as a full subject. A lot of humanities students choose subjects where there are a lot of crossover skills. So, for example, a good combination might be English with classics and government and politics. I always encourage students to think about English as a subject if they're very ambitious, because what it does is it very much enhances your writing skills. Whatever thing you do in life, you need to be able to write. If it's writing an email, if it's writing a letter, if it's doing a presentation, communication, whether it's written or spoken, is very, really important. So it's a life skill. So sociology, government, politics often go together. A lot of people who do sociology often do government and politics. They're humanities, but they could also be perhaps considered social sciences as well. So that's a popular combination. History and English, a lot of students who do English and history go together. History is a sort of very traditional A-level, quite academically demanding, but it goes well with English. So yes, a lot of students, we tend to have, the humanities students tend to do humanities subjects, but as I say, they could do, generally speaking, in year 13, most of the students do 3 A-levels. They might start off with 4 and then drop 1 at the end of the year 12 and focus on 3. And they tend to be, humanities students tend to do humanities subjects because there's a lot of crossover. We have quite a few students actually who do drama as well with English, although drama isn't part of the humanities, it's the creative arts. So we have quite a few drama students who also do English, and we've created very strong connections between the English department and the drama department and the classics, because they study plays, they study theatre, and there's a lot of, so we do share activities, we do workshops. Kathy David, who teaches classics, she does workshops with the drama department, even though they're actually in a different faculty. So there is cross-faculty activity going on, which is very beneficial for students. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. there was just one follow-up question, which I think which we can answer, which is Noel's asked, film studies and drama included in, but I think you covered it, that it's part of the
Yeah,
creative arts.
film studies is part of the creative arts. Film studies is a subject which is very essay based, and so a lot of the skills. I have a student at the moment, international student, who is doing English and she's doing film studies, and she was a little bit concerned about the quality of her written expression. And I said, well, if you're going to improve your written expression, the best way is to carry on with English. And she's doing film as well. And film is just a visual language. So you analyze a visual language. English is obviously a verbal language. And so the skills are very, there's a lot of crossover there, film studies as well. And it's a very interesting, growing subject, film studies, and popular as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. There's a couple of questions that have come through, one which I think I can probably deal with, and then I'll pass one on to you, Simon. So the first one, which is one I think I can answer briefly, is Deepti has asked about commerce, which is studied in India in grade 12. And basically, what are the bachelors called with subjects that are similar in the UK? Well, just from a sixth form point of view, obviously the subjects that we would be looking to study or offer in our colleges are subjects at A level, like business studies, economics, accounting, as well, and they would link into fields like management, like marketing, like finance. Another key subject that many universities like for students who want to study business or finance related courses is also mathematics, of course, as well. And certainly if students are targeting some of the higher ranked universities, a good maths grade is very important. So certainly there are subjects like that. What would also, and I'm sure Simon will agree, would link in quite well with someone looking to pursue a business career or a career in finance is maybe some of the humanities subjects as well, because they encourage those skills like interpretation, analysis, which is quite key if you want to work in a business environment. So they're the kinds of subjects we would offer in the business fields, which obviously you can combine with subjects like mathematics or subjects like humanities-based subjects. And really at university, there's a wide range of business-related subjects. Obviously, business management, economics are key. Looking at finance, financial markets, economics obviously is very popular, but there is really a wide range. You can go into fields such as marketing, but also into really specialized fields such as fashion management, which we also offer at DLD as a foundation program. So it's quite broad, just to answer that question. The question for Simon, let me just scroll down to find it. One of our panelists has asked, which exams do the British universities need? So I just wondered if you could maybe just clarify kind of, what qualifying assessments the universities are looking for.
Well, you need an IELTS score, a good IELTS score. Different universities will have different kind of requirements. So IELTS if you're an international student, but there's A level. There's the A level, the traditional A level route. We have different pathways. There's the IFP, the International Foundation Program, and there's also BTEC as well. Some students combine A level with BTEC. BTEC is a more practical course. So you can IFP would be something that students a lot of students start off doing A level, and then in the year 12, they switch to an IFP course, International Foundation Program, which is a one-year course. Some students might drop an A level at the end of year 12 and combine it with a BTEC course. So that's another route in. But the traditional route would be 3 A levels. You don't need 4 A levels. Some students like to do 4 A levels because they feel that it's further proof of their ability. But you could do 3 A levels and really the best grades possible. The top universities will want A's, A stars, and A's. There is another exam or qualification we offer, which is called the EPQ, which is quite interesting. A lot of humanities students do this who are aiming for top universities. And EPQ stands for the Extended Project Qualification, and it's somewhere between, it's worth about 70 UCAS points. So it's a bit like the old AS, it's sort of, I'm not going to say it's half an A level, it's worth more than half an A level, but it's not a full A level, but it's an extended project qualification. Students who study the International Baccalaureate, for example, have to do an extended essay. Well, this is the A level equivalent of that, and students can specialize in a particular area, and that is a very good way of enhancing your university application. If you're going to apply for one of these top universities, Russell Group universities, an EPQ is a very good way of showing the universities your ability to work independently, to research, to academically format an extended piece of writing. We're talking about 6,000-7,000 words. So it's not like just an essay. It's, you know, if you're studying business, for example, you might be interested in a particular type of economy or economic system, and you might want to explore that further. You might want to do something on the economic.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. If anyone does have any more questions, please do post. Just to follow up on Simon's response there, specifically around A levels, you may have heard reference in the past to different examining bodies for A levels,
Yes.
such as CIE, OCR, AQA. The important thing to remember is universities do not make a differentiation in their judgment between the different exam bodies. An A grade in an AQA A-level exam versus an A grade in a CIE exam is considered at the same level. So you'll probably notice if you look into our college websites that we offer A-levels with different examining bodies, but they are all considered equal from the university's point of view. So that's an important distinction to make. If anyone does have any other questions, please do post them now. Otherwise, I think we'll call that it. When we send the information and Simon's presentation to you afterwards, please do feel free to post any questions that you may have. We can relay those to Simon, or the team can respond to them as well. But if anyone does have any questions, please do post them now, and we'll try to deal with those very quickly. Just give it a moment. Okay, I think we've got all of the questions we're going to have. So from my point of view, I just wanted to say thank you very much. I'll let Simon say goodbye and then we'll sign off.
Yes, well, goodbye. And I hope you found this informative. If there's anything you'd like further explanation on, please contact me. And I hope some of you will consider doing a humanities subject, because we're a very dedicated group of teachers and we very much value students that bring their own thoughts and ideas to the table, and so that's what we're very much interested in. We're interested in young people that think independently, think creatively, think imaginatively. So it's goodbye from me. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon.